We are on.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon. Good afternoon. We are so excited. We are so excited. We are so excited to have another thought provoking, encouraging, and inspiring Tuesday, 1 p.m. Bible study. I'm so excited about being here on today with Pastor Jackson as we talk about an amazing new book. Oh my gosh, you have got to grab this book. You have got to grab this book. You will absolutely love this book. I have fallen in love with it and I can't seem to put it down. And so I know when I say the name of this book, I know you are going to have a blast as you run to Amazon or Barnes and Noble or your local bookstore to pick this book up. What is the name of this book, you might ask? As I get ready to share my screen, I want you to grab pen and paper so you don't want to miss this. The name of the book is called Psalms for Black Lives. Psalms for Black Lives. Quickly, family, grab pen and paper so you don't miss this. Psalms for Black Lives. Here is here's what the book looks like. Here's what the book looks. This is the cover of the book. Psalms for Black Lives, Reflections for the Work of Liberation, and it is by Pastors Gabby Cujo Wilkes and Andrew Wilkes. This is an amazing husband and wife team that we're reflecting on. What are the ways in which we can read the Psalms in particular and find hope and encouragement in the midst of the various life struggles that we may wrestle with? And so let me say, please grab this book as we are going to be looking at particular selections in this book, focused primarily on the Psalms, if you will. And so for our Bible study today, we're going to look at the first chapter or section of this book. And we're going to pay close attention to a particular psalm, if you will. What is that psalm that we want to check out or look at? This particular psalm that we're going to look at is Psalm 27. Psalm 27. So first and foremost, I want you to go grab your Bible. So grab your Bible and journey with us as we look at Psalm 27. Psalm 27. Okay, family? Psalm 27. Now, before we get started, we just want to highlight a couple of things, if you will. This wonderful and amazing book by the Wolf family is inspiring and thought-provoking. And to get us started, there are some particular points that the Reverend Dr. Otis Moss wants us to think about and reflect on, if you will. Pastor Moss wrote the foreword to this book, and he highlights some amazing initial thoughts for us. First and foremost, he wants us to remember when we think about the Psalms, we first must draw attention to this understanding or idea that poets or psalmists and griots, if we will, are children of the same womb, nurtured by waters, sweetened with hope, yet still in some sense blues. These persons who are responsible for penning these most eloquent words that we sing or read or live by offer these hopeful and inspiring words, lyrics, phrases. However, we must reconcile at the same time, they also wrestle with challenges. They wrestle with crisis. They wrestle with chaos. And so, first and foremost, we have to gather in some sense what does it mean to stay peaceful and joyful, even though there is yet chaos, tragedy, crisis all around us that we must somehow manage. This first point is, in some sense, what we have to come face to face with in the reality of all of our lives. So the first research question that we want you to jot down as you think about us entering into this study of the Psalms is reflecting on how David, who penned these Psalms, is experiencing what my grandmother called subversive joy in the midst of pain, sorrow, and loss. As you think about and reflect on your own life, what are the ways in which you had to hold on to joy in the midst of pain? You see, in some sense, we have to address a myth. There's a present day myth that says, okay, we should have joy. But oftentimes what we don't understand about joy is it's easy to have joy when everything is going good in our life. It's easy to have joy when we have enough money to pay the rent, when we have enough food on our table, when we are safe and secure in homes, when we have a roof over our head. What makes joy challenging is when everything in our life is going astray, when we've lost our job, when our spouse has served us with divorce papers, when an unexpected illness has shown up, when we find ourselves behind prison bars, maybe for a crime we did not commit or a circumstance that was not our fault. How do we have joy then? That becomes the real meaning of joy. Joy is not simply a feeling or spirit or being that we have when everything is going well in our life, but the true testament to our Christian being is, can we maintain joy in the midst of unemployment, poverty, police brutality? Joy, even in the midst of being victimized by sociological oppression. Joy in the midst of all types of chaos. And so the first reflective question for you today is, how do you have joy in the midst of chaos in your own life? How do you maintain a sense of hope? No matter what chaos you are wrestling with today, what does hope look like for you? The second reflective question that Dr. Otis Moss asked us to reflect on is this. It is the duty of the psalmist to center the world of a person in exile who lives behind the veil and who is caught between two worlds as the subject of God's concern and action. In some sense, we have to wrestle with what does it mean in some sense to be God's child and at the same time live in a world that may not love us, a world that may not supply our needs, a world that may not put us on a pedestal. We all live in this world where we have to remember God is yet with us, and at the same time, sometimes it may not feel like it. As we travel this world of pain, sadness, isolation, confusion, and chaos, sometimes it's hard to actually believe God is with us. As I think about the period of African enslavement, there had to be an act of faith that our mothers, forefathers, grandfathers had to carry, thinking about, reflecting on living in a system of African enslavement where they were beat or lynched, forced to work through excruciating pain on plantations and in big houses. Yet and still remembering that God loved them, that just as God heard the cries of the children of Israel in Egypt, that God certainly heard their cries. And so what does it mean to live in these two worlds where we have to believe that God loves us while yet and still living in a world of pain and poverty? So the second reflective question for us is, in the midst of the challenges that we are experiencing, in the midst of the challenges that we are going through in our world today, no matter what they are, in the midst of your own personal challenges that you may not even dare to utter aloud, how do you hold on to the belief that you are God's child, that God loves you, that God has not forgotten about you? This becomes the backdrop. These two reflective questions become the backdrop for what we have to hold on to as we read these Psalms. These become the two golden nuggets that our psalmist had to hold on to and remember. And thus, as readers of this text, these become the two reflective points that we ourselves have to hold on to and remember. So now, let us journey into reading Psalm 27. Psalm 27. We're going to read Psalm 27 in particular from the New Revised Standard Version. Psalm 27. The Lord is my light and my salvation. Whom shall I fear? The Lord is the stronghold of my life. Of whom shall I be afraid? When evildoers assail me to devour my flesh, my adversaries and foes, they shall stumble and fall. Though an army encamp against me, my heart shall not fear. Though war rise up against me, yet will I be confident. One thing that I ask of the Lord, this I seek, to live in the house of the Lord all the days of my life, to behold the beauty of the Lord and to inquire in his temple. For he will hide me in his shelter in the day of trouble. He will conceal me under the cover of his tent. He will set me high on a rock. Now my head is lifted up above my enemies all around me, and I will offer in his tent sacrifices and shouts of joy. I will sing and make melody to the Lord. Hear, O Lord, when I cry aloud. Be gracious to me and answer me. Come, my heart says, seek his face. Your face, Lord, do I seek. Do not hide your face from me. Do not turn your servant away in anger. You who have been my help, do not cast me off. Do not forsake me, O God of my salvation. If my father and mother forsake me, the Lord will take me up. Teach me your way, O Lord, and lead me on a level path because of my enemies. Do not give me up to the will of my adversary, for false witnesses have risen against me, and they are breathing out violence. I believe that I shall see the goodness of the Lord in the land of the living. Wait for the Lord. Be strong and let your heart take courage. Wait for the Lord. Such a powerful song, is it not? Psalm 27 is one of my favorite psalms in my own life. Psalm 27 invites us to reflect on a few points according to the will. First and foremost, Psalm 27 encourages us to live boldly, courageously, and powerfully. Ironically, Psalm 27 highlights for us this understanding that our faith doesn't remove us from intimidating situations. Our faith does not remove us from intimidating situations. We live sometimes in a world that may have us to believe that because we are Christians, crisis, chaos won't find us. But that's not true. Because we are Christians, that doesn't mean that we are now removed from challenges in life. That doesn't mean that our Christian faith will absolve us of experiencing pain and heartache. What Psalm 27 reminds us is that faith gives us the courage and the boldness to live in the midst of crisis that comes in our life. And someone here needs to be reminded of that, because in some sense we have to move past, challenge an unhealthy theology that may cause us to believe that because we are Christians, because we work hard to proclaim our belief in Jesus Christ, that now we will be absolved of all heartache and pain. And that is not true. Our writers want us to be concerned primarily with focusing on verse 3 in our text in particular. Right. If we are to pay attention to verse 3 in particular, there's something that our writers want us to focus on in particular that really drives this point home. In some sense, there is 5 words that our writers want us to pay attention to that ground us. In the midst of crisis that we experience or highlight, yet I will be confident. Yet we will be confident. Our writers want us to pay attention to these 5 words at the end of verse 3. Yet I will be confident. Defiant confidence, according to our writers, is the key to crisis in our life. Defiant confidence is what all of us may strive to hold on to. Let's pause for a second. The question for all of us today is, can you have a defiant confidence? A defiant confidence. David is the writer of this psalm. David had to have a defiant confidence. A defiant confidence says that even in the midst of the challenges that I experience in life, I will have self-esteem. I will have holy boldness. I will have courage to endure. Defiant confidence means because I'm human, I'll be afraid, but I won't let my fear sabotage me and keep me from accomplishing the mission, vision, and goal that God has for me in my life. And so the next reflective question that we just want you to journal in your notebook today is, what are the ways in which you can hold on to defiant confidence in your life, no matter the crisis you may be faced with? How can you hold on to defiant confidence? How can you hold on to defiant confidence? Let's pause here for a second and really think about strategies and interventions for holding on to defiant confidence. You may be saying to yourself, well, how can I be confident? What are steps that I can take, strategies or interventions that I can take to show confidence, to experience confidence? What are particular strategies and interventions I can practice to be confident, if you will? And there's a number of strategies and interventions that we can employ to build our confidence. Now, I'm letting you know, I'm letting you know, I'm letting you know, I'm letting you know. These are not easy. You may have to take your time. You may have to take your time doing these particular activities. But the good news is you can do them. You can certainly do them. So first and foremost, beloved, we say steps to build confidence. Number one, turn off the media. That's right. In order to build this defiant confidence, we may have to resist logging on to Facebook every now and then. We may have to resist watching particular television shows. We may have to resist turning off the radio. Yes, turning off the media becomes so important. Sometimes the media, unfortunately, robs us of our confidence. The media tells us who we are when really we are somebody else. So sometimes we may have to practice building our confidence by saying, I'm not going to log on to social media today, or I'm not going to watch particular television shows today. Building a defiant confidence also means getting to know ourselves, really reflecting on who am I, really reflecting on what are the things that I can do to become my true authentic self. What does it mean to be me? Who is God calling me to be? What is God calling me to do in this world? Getting to know ourselves is very, very important to gaining confidence. We also have to work on building a positive self-image. That means not being too hard on ourselves, not beating ourselves up, really looking at ourselves and loving our bodies, loving these beautiful Black bodies that we are born in, loving this beautiful Black skin that we have, loving our beautiful, kinky, nappy hair, and not thinking, oh, I need to go get fake hair. I need to go wear weaves. I need to go get blue contact lenses. So people who have blue eyes look beautiful, right? Really loving the skin that we're in. Building confidence also means stop comparing. You know, we often say in psychology and human development, making comparisons is the thief of joy. Comparing yourself to other people, is a way to fall into a downward spiral. So we have to resist comparing. We can look to our left, look to our right and say, wow, I need to be more like John, Ted, Sam, Sarah, Danielle. Maybe I need to have more of what Michael has. Maybe I need to have more of what Layla over here has. Maybe I need to have more of what Christine has over here. No. Comparison is the thief of joy. If we spend so much time comparing who we are or what we have to what somebody else has, we are going to no longer be confident in what we have. And last but not least, building confidence means, in some sense, having particular goals. Having particular goals. What are your goals? What are your goals? All of us can have a goal, something that we are actively working towards in life. If you don't have any goals, you won't be able to build your confidence because goals create confidence. How do goals create confidence? I'm so glad you asked that question. Goals create confidence because goals remind us we have something to look forward to. And when we achieve our goal, we feel better about ourselves. It is the act of achieving goals that creates more and more confidence in us. But if we don't ever create a goal, then we won't ever have anything to work towards to achieve. And then, da, 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 we won't build our confidence. And so it's so important, family, to turn off the media, get to know ourselves, build a positive self-image, stop complaining, and create goals. These, in some sense, create defiant confidence in us. I'll pause there for a moment to see if there's any questions from our audience or Pastor wants to add something.
So we no questions. We do have some responses to building confidence. Jeanette said, looking back over your life and seeing God's movement in your life. Kathleen commented or repeated, she said, yet I remain confident in this, that I will see the goodness of the Lord. I am waiting on him, trusting in him. And so those are responses. I wanted to, yes, as you've been sharing, the person of Serena Williams came into my mind. I shared Sunday with the congregation that, you know, this past week, even though she lost, you know, everybody was there for this whole thing. The whole stands were rocking for Serena. You know, Tiger Woods was there. A whole bunch of folk were there. Everybody, every time she made a good, you know, move, play, volley, whatever, you know, they just erupted. And I said, but Serena and Venus and Richard and her mom and the rest of the family, they didn't forget Indian Wells in 2001. Because at Indian Wells, when she played, Serena commented that it was the worst point in her life of tennis. The boos, the catcalls, the nasty names. Every moment she was on the court, they harassed her. Now she won, but she vowed she would never go back to Indian Wells. She ended up going back in 2015. And even though she went back, she said it was still real difficult because the scar was still there. But as you were talking, it is in some ways a picture of what the Psalm 27 is, that in the midst of the horrendous way she had been treated for a good part of her career, somehow there was joy still there. Somehow there was bold confidence. Somehow those steps that you just listed out were there. The comparison in tennis, as in all sports, is very strong to compare yourself to somebody else. The media, she couldn't listen to the media, especially Chris Everett. Chris Everett hated her, you know. I mean, and John McEnroe to some extent, but you know, couldn't let the media inform her, and so had to get to know herself, had to do these and set these goals to the point now she's enjoying, you know, the celebration, you know, because I will see the goodness of the Lord in the land of the living. And so wanted to add that. So awesome. This is awesome.
I so appreciate you highlighting that because I feel like so much of it goes against what we highlight in our world today is this belief that we need external validation. And how do we resist always needing external validation, right? Sometimes, you know, I think many of us wrestle with, we need somebody to pat us on our back. We need somebody to say, you did a good job well done. But what happens when you don't get that? Yeah. What happens if in a particular circumstance or context, there's nobody who does that, right? Do you lose hope? Do you lose your sense of confidence because nobody said, job well done?
Right.
You know, I often wonder, like, Do we know that we did a good job on something if nobody celebrates us and affirms us for doing that good job, right?
Wow.
How do you know something is good? Most of the time we think something is good because somebody told us it was good.
Oh my goodness.
Most of the time, I know I did a good job if somebody said, Danielle, you did a good job with that, right? But some of this defiant confidence is challenging us to have some internal validation more than external validation, to build internal validation more than relying on external validation. How do we arrive at spaces and places where we say, I did a good job because I know within my heart I did a good job. Not I did a good job because one or two people said, oh, Danielle, you did a good job. And see, I think that becomes the thing we have to be careful with in life, because what if it's 300 people who said, you did a good job? We might say, oh, I did a good job because I had 300 people affirm I did a good job. But what if it was really bad? But because 300 people said we did it good, what if it was really bad? But because 300 people said we did it good, now we think we did good when we really did bad, right? That's, I think, oh man, I could talk forever about this. That's the, I think that's the mystery of, and the self-sabotaging way social media gets us in trouble.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
What if we make a Facebook post that's a gold nugget that's prolific?
Yeah, yeah.
But nobody likes it.
Right.
Nobody likes it. Nobody hits the little heart emoji.
Right.
Nobody comments that this is awesome. This is wonderful.
Right.
It's still a wise gold nugget.
Yes.
Versus someone else posts, Mary had a little lamb. And now they get 300 likes. They get 500 comments. That was really good. You said, but all they said was, Mary had a little light. Doesn't make sense to me. It doesn't move me. Right? But sometimes it can be misleading. When we have this external validation, we may begin to say, oh, I was really prolific, and not prolific. And so I heard a psychologist say one day, if you live by external validation to quench your thirst, you will be thirsty your entire life.
You know what? I heard Rev. Sean McMillan, he said from our pulpit, this is years ago, he said it's similar to what you just said. He said the most dangerous place to live is between the clapping of someone else's hands.
Wow. 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 That's my next Facebook post. I'm gonna definitely give you credit.
There you go.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah,
wow.
Yeah. That's you just did incredible work, especially when in particular when you gave the illustration of Facebook. I know people right now who are somewhat depressed because they post stuff that is incredibly solid, but they don't get likes. And they get so frustrated and mad and upset. And somebody else that posts, Mary had a little lamb, gibberish, and all these likes and whatnot. And that's where comparison comes in. They start talking about, well, why are they getting blah, blah, blah? And see, you hit it right on the head. You hit it right on the head. You hit it right on the head. They say, you're preaching.
The second point that our WIP family asked us to reflect on is defiant confidence means not only having confidence in the fact that God will take care of us, but defiant confidence also means living on God. Living on God. So what do we mean by that? That's an interesting phrase. Can you live on God? Our authors asked us to, in particular, look at verse 5 of this Psalm 27 text. Verse 5 reads, and he will hide me in his shelter in the day of trouble. He will conceal me under the cover of his tent. He will set me high on a rock. In some sense, our authors say the psalmist David is proclaiming his desire to live on God, to lean on God, to depend on God. Oftentimes, writers say it's easy to say that in cliche form. Depend on God. Live on God. Depend on God. Live on God. Expect God to do the impossible. But they say in some sense it's hard to actually do that in reality. It's hard to actually live on God, lean on God, depend on God. And so we have to begin to grapple with what are the specific strategies and interventions we must employ to really trust God. What are the strategies and interventions that we can employ to really trust God? First and foremost, we say number one, don't allow the issues to continue to take up space in your mind. Free yourself from worry. Oftentimes, depending on God, leaning on God, living on God means the ability to stop worrying about it. Stop letting that issue take up space in your mind. First and foremost, we say this becomes the lead strategy or intervention we can employ. Because oftentimes when we are in crisis, when we are faced with chaos, when we are faced with some sort of challenge, we let it overtake our mind. We let it overtake our mind. And so in some sense, we have to figure out how not to let something take up space in our mind in some sense. So this becomes pivotal. This becomes pivotal or key, if you will. This becomes pivotal or key. How to not let something take up space in our mind. And so how do we do that? How do we free ourselves from worry and not let something take up space in our minds? What do we have to do? What do we have to do to not let something take up space in our minds? There's particular strategies or interventions that we can employ. First and foremost, in order to not let something take up space in our mind, first and foremost, we have to resist drawing conclusions. Resist drawing conclusions. Usually things take up space in our minds and we worry about things because we jump to conclusions. We jump to conclusions, right? This is called selective abstraction, where we begin to create meanings that are not true. Draw conclusions based on one simple little incident, therefore we believe this must be true. This must be true. The technical phrase for that is selective abstraction, but in layman's terms, that means we draw conclusions. So things begin to create worry in us because we draw conclusions, and those conclusions oftentimes are not true. Next, things take up space in our minds because we personalize things. And then we start to feel guilty or we beat up on ourselves because we take things personal. We say, oh, this incident happened because it's all my fault. I did A, B, C, X, Y, Z. And so now this is why this particular thing is happening. It's all my fault. If I wouldn't have did A, B, C, X, Y, Z, then these things would not have happened, right? We can't take things personal. When we are going through crisis, we can't jump to conclusions, right? We have to lean on God and not jump to conclusions. When we're going through crisis, we can't take it personal. We have to simply lean on God and know that the crisis we're dealing with has nothing to do with us specifically or personally. Number three, leaning on God means also recognizing not to make a big deal of the mountain, the crisis, or the issue. This idea of magnification of the mountain or the problem is one of the reasons why the event begins to take up space in our minds, because we're magnifying the event. We're making a mountain out of a molehill. Don't allow something to take up space in your mind because you're making it bigger than what it actually is. We also, unfortunately, whenever we run into crisis, we minimalize the good, the positive, the great attributes of our own being, the good things that are happening in the circumstance. So when crisis hits, it takes up a lot of space in our mind because we're not thinking about the good part of the crisis or whatever is the good thing around the crisis that's happening. We minimize that which is good in the midst of the crisis. Also, in some sense, the challenge with a particular crisis that causes us not to lean on God is because we begin to overgeneralize. What do we mean when we say overgeneralize? We begin to think, okay, some singular random event has happened, therefore everything in life is bad. Everything in life is terrible. God is not faithful to me at all. Just because a small, simple, one event happens. Therefore now 99% of the good things that have happened to us in life are no longer worthy or valuable and don't count. Because we're simply paying attention to the 1%. And so in some sense, overgeneralization says, how do we pay attention to the 99% that's going good and ignore the 1%? Don't allow the 1% to speak for your whole story. Think about the 99%. Think about the 99%, right? So these steps become so important to free our mind, to create in us a lack of worry that don't take up space and allow us to now lean on God, lean on God, lean on God, depend on God, believe that God is going to fix it. My grandmother said, whenever there's problems in life, you take it to the altar. So this act of taking something to the altar means I'm not jumping to conclusions. I'm not personalizing this and making it my fault. I'm not magnifying this crisis. I'm taking it to the altar. I'm not minimalizing all the good that's happening all around. I'm not overgeneralizing this 1% and ignoring the 99% that's going well. I'm taking it to the altar and leaning on God to fix it like only God can. I'm not allowing this to take up space in my mind anymore. So, reflective questions for us also to consider. Reflective questions for us also to consider. In the midst of this trying to gain defiant confidence, how do we first and foremost remember? How do we first and foremost remember that God is with us? And how do we take joy, subversive joy in the midst of the crisis? How do we remember that even in the crisis, God is good, God will protect us and provide for us, God will never leave us alone? How do we take defiant courage in the midst of the crisis? A courage that the world didn't give to us, therefore the world cannot take it away. How do we have a defiant confidence that knows that this issue no longer has to take up space in our mind, but we can lay it on the altar and everything be fine? We don't have to jump to conclusions. We don't have to magnify the situation. We don't have to minimize the wonderful good that's happening in the midst of the situation. We don't have to overgeneralize by saying this one little crisis now takes away from all the wonderful good things that's happening in our lives. Let's pause there for a moment. If anybody would like to add anything from our online audience or pastor.
We, Kathleen, early on, posted, she said, I have to tell myself I did a good job working with my students because I don't see them face to face, they're online. She said, I tell myself I would be happy to have this experience myself as a student, it's good. And then she says, don't let the thoughts rent space in your brain. Jeanette says, pray for discernment. And Kathleen adds again, pray, read the word, reflect on the promises of God. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you. I want to share with you. I so appreciated what you just highlighted right there, Kathleen. There's an exercise. There's an exercise that we often ask people to do. There's an exercise that we often ask people to do. I say it is so important to do this exercise. Now, I think you can do this exercise at the start of your day. I think you can do this exercise at the start of your day. Some people do this exercise in the evening before they go to sleep. And others say do it in the morning and do it at night. Go to your mirror. Usually you can go to the mirror in your bathroom, or you can go to the mirror you have in your bedroom. Go to the mirror and just make affirming statements to yourself as you look in the mirror. Go to the mirror and make these affirming statements to yourself. I'm going to read a few affirming statements that you can say to yourself. And you can write these down. I am loved. I am loved. I am wonderful. I have so much going for myself. For whatever reason, this is where I am supposed to be right now. It's okay to be upset. Everybody gets upset. I don't have to be perfect. No one is. No one expects me to keep it together all the time. There is a lesson in this pain, and someday I will understand it and be glad for it. I'm doing the best that I can do right now. Things will get better again. They always do. Everyone I know has suffered at some point or time. I'm gonna cut myself some slack and give myself a break. I'm human. I'm not a superhero. Everything else can wait right now. I need to be here for me. These are soothing self-talk affirmations. And so some people start their day in the morning saying these type of statements to themselves in the mirror in their bathroom before they get up and start their day. Before you go to sleep at night, you can also try saying these. Any other types of soothing self-talk affirmations you want to say to yourself, we welcome. We definitely welcome. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, everybody. Your homework assignment, oh, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
Your homework assignment is to grab this book, grab this book, grab this book. And the next topic we're going to talk about is Psalms 91. And we're going to look at the theme of faith. Psalms 91. We're going to look at the theme of faith. Today, we were in Psalm 27 and we looked at confidence, defiant confidence. Well, next Tuesday, we're going to look at Psalm 91 and the theme of faith. Amen. So please, 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 family, join us. Share this video, share this video, share this video.
Absolutely. I like it toward the end where David says, I shall see the goodness of the Lord in the land of the living, pointing out that this faith is not pie in the sky when you die by and by, but it is something sound on the ground by the pound while you are still around. So I just love that. I love that. I love that. So yeah, y'all share the video, hit that share button when we get through, because there are many people who are working during this time and they will really be able to benefit. So share it with them, share it on your Facebook, your social media, your Instagram, your pages. And we look forward to seeing you on next time. Psalm 91, you can get a head start. And if you have not ordered the book, please order the book. All right. Thank you so much, Dr. Buhuro.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Amen. We'll see y'all next week.